And we are live. Are you guys ready? So I'm going to wait a moment or two for people to join. In seconds, moments, I'll be joined by Keith Shetterly, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I have a lot of respect for Keith. We're not enemies. I think we have a few differences of opinion, and I think we have a lot of common ground. So in just a moment, I think Keith is going to join me, and we're going to have a good time. Keith Shetterly.
Hey, what's up, Ed?
I'm doing good, man.
Hey,
How are
bud.
you doing?
I'm doing great. You look great.
So do you. And I
Uh,
think our technology hopefully is working
well, I
correctly.
don't see this live on your page. One of the things I don't know if you have to tag me in it or something. I don't. It normally I get a notification when you go live or somebody else goes live. I didn't get one,
I
so I'm not really.
I see it. And let me see. Trevor Brooks is in love with us. Jay Chang is looking at us. So and I see it living right now. So I think we're I think we're live.
I'm sure we are. We'll let the audience build for a second. I don't want to get us in a spot. Um, so let me see if I can take a look while we're talking. We can talk about how we got to here. Kind of interesting, right? We had a we had
Absolutely.
a we had an interesting situation. I can't see it, so I don't know why. I'm just telling you, I can't. Um,
Well, I'm going to see if I can
so
share this over to Uncensored because they were part of the start of this. So that is, yeah, that's, so I think that's working.
yeah, now I can see the live video in there. Share it on my
Okay.
page. Share it on me. That must be what needs to happen.
Okay. Yeah. Man, it's all so far beyond me. It's all this technology shit. I get
Whatever,
lost.
whatever, whatever.
So, you called me out. So why don't I let you
I
start?
tagged you actually. I tagged you because I thought you might find the topic interesting. I
Okay.
did not
And
expect you to
and I and
react.
I somewhat disagreed. A lot of what you were talking about, I actually agree with. It's just I think you're blaming a tool, and it's not the tool's fault. So let me step back for a moment, and rather than talking
Yeah, go ahead.
about
That's good. Stake
CRMs,
stake the position, and then I'll tell
okay.
you what I think.
So
Then
I'm gonna talk about a completely different topic. I'm gonna talk about guns. So every time there's a horrible shooting that everybody agrees is horrible, every time this happens, there's a bunch of people that says, "Well, it's guns," and there's another group that will say, "No, it's mental illness." And my take on that is always it's a gun in the hands of somebody who's batshit crazy. It's the combination of the gun, which is a tool, in the hands of the wrong person. And I think blaming the CRM is the exact same sort of thing. And so I'm going to come back full circle, blaming a CRM when there's a bad process because the CRM doesn't dictate the process, or maybe there's a management team that is, I don't want to say incompetent because that's not always the case, but maybe they're not fully trained. Maybe they're in over their head. Maybe they're just too busy, and that shouldn't be an excuse, but quite often it is. Um, a CRM used properly is a great thing, and certainly in the case of like a BDC, you can't operate a BDC without a CRM. Would you agree?
I would agree with that last statement. The rest of it, I do take some exception. This is the good part, right? Where we find out where the points of disagreement are, because right away I look at it like this. I've got a tool. If I need to hole, I get a shovel. I need to drive somewhere, I get a car. Car is a tool. So if I got a shovel to go somewhere, unless it's a hill and the snow and I'm using it as a sled, it's not really going to work. It's the wrong tool for the wrong job.
Mm-hmm.
If they sell it to me as a car, or I get a shopping cart with wheels on it and say, use that, that's still a tool with wheels. It's the wrong tool. It's the wrong representation. So what I said was, and this is the thing I think that started it all, was, and pause here, I'll come back to this before we get done, but 18 million cars were sold last year. If we hadn't used the CRM at all, if we turned them all off all last year, how many more cars would we have sold? My point being that CRMs don't sell cars. My point also being that for a lot of dealers, it feels like it's in the way. So there's to me, there's three kinds of dealers to deal with here, but there's two really for this one. There are dealers that have great processes that can use a bad and still do well, and then they can have a great CRM. And that is a winning situation, and that happens in America, and everybody who does that needs to be very proud of it. I know people who do. They have strong processes already, and the CRM marries to that. This can happen. A great CRM with very bad processes ain't going to help a thing.
I
It's a
agree.
$2,500.
We are in complete agreement. I'm.
But so that's what happens most of the time. So tell me I can't blame the tool when the tool was sold as a process police person, when it was sold as I'll do data mining, when it's been sold as I'll keep attribution. We talked about that before. When it's sold as I'll do your processes, and then there's the process here for the dealership, and there's the process like this for the CRM, or there's this for the dealership, and then there's this for the CRM. None of it matches up. None of it comes together.
Keith,
you need to have this. That doesn't happen very often.
Keith, all of that shit you just talked about.
Did you say shit?
Yes, I did. So all that shit you just talked about, that's all your fault, because you sold CRMs. So you're going through this list of things that CRMs are sold to do, and really you didn't talk about the things that they really do every day. Keeping track of the customer relationship. It
doesn't happen. That's a lie. It doesn't happen.
It happens.
90% of it doesn't happen. It gets in the way. It doesn't happen, brother.
I think you're wrong. I'm in dealerships every day, and certainly at a dealership that does have a BDC,
sure.
the BDC folks are using the CRM every day. I was in a dealership today, and I didn't ask his permission, so I'm not going to name him. But CJ, you know who I'm talking about.
What's up, CJ?
So I asked, and I know that he has a well-run dealership, and I asked, and I know that he knows his CRM. So he's in the tool, and I think way too many general managers. I shouldn't say that. Some general managers aren't necessarily familiar with the tool. They aren't hands-on in their CRM. They'll look at the BDC manager and say, run a report for me. And that's the extent of their knowledge. Does that sound familiar?
That sounds completely familiar.
Yeah, but for a lot of dealerships where the general manager is knowledgeable, knows what's going on, I was talking to this general manager, and he, again, the guy's not going to be named, CJ, and I said, do you bring it up? I mean, is this something that you talk about in your meetings? Oh, my Saturday meetings, we discuss it, and the BDC staff, they're currently, they're current on their CRM because they're in it every day. Some of the folks that work the floor, he'll have to spend some time talking about the fact that you haven't entered an up all week long, and have you had ups? Oh yeah, yeah, you sold cars, and but he doesn't bring it up to spend all of his time chastising the staff. He brings it up to say, had you entered this data, you could have alerted our BDC to have assisted you, and that's part of their job. And I would have been alerted to send an email out to the customer thanking them for their visit, or I'll pick up the phone and thank them in person on the phone. And this is all designed to help you sell more cars, and it's not getting in the way.
I'm going to use bullshit. I've heard that bullshit for 10 years. I sat in the dealership, and I believe a BDC is the only place that a CRM is usually very helpful. And dealerships that have great BDCs and great processes are going to benefit from a CRM. Just to go back to my pedigree a little bit, I will take the blame because of my association. I used to be a vice president of a CRM company, totally, in the sense that I supported the sales process. I also ran their call center. I was also an e-commerce director for a group that used CRMs, and I've consulted on other CRMs besides just that one. And I watched this happen over and over and over, because it's exactly what you said, is that and it's just the way the world has evolved. The general managers and the general sales managers typically never sold cars on the internet. And the ones that didn't, there's two classes. They understand it, and the ones that don't. Ones that don't understand it want it all taken care of, and the tool sounded that way, and it sold a lot of CRM. So then it becomes the shovel that gets used is I'll shovel on more features until the CRM becomes this bloated pig that you're worried about do the sold reports match the DMS, and then they have to try and interface to all these lead providers, which is a whole other question, right? And then then they monitor calls, and then they record calls so they can not be listened to, which is usually what happens. Dealerships themselves owned a bad process, and the CRMs were sold, and they're still sold today, as a Band-Aid on that doesn't work. It's the tail wagging the dog. Or the other example I use is the flea. The flea on the ass of the elephant may think it's pushing hard to make an elephant go where it wants, but it's going to go where the hell it wants anyway. That's when I say you can't blame the tool. The whole situation was the instead of the tool that was needed, which may have been the car, the shovel or the sled or the four-wheel shopping cart, was sold as a car. And that happened to a lot of dealerships, because now I can go to sleep at night because it's my teddy bear. My general manager is not going to get mad at me, or I'm the general manager. My owner's not going to get mad at me, or the owner and the general manager, my OEM's not going to get mad at me, because I have a CRM. But you take a look at the way that it's used, and the biggest first problem it always has is each dealership has a different pedigree of process. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is the CRM A does not flex well enough. And I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying they can't all be used. It's become I don't want CRM anymore. I want a different. We have so many acronyms, Ed. Oh my God. We say OMG now because we love acronyms. CRM is like, what the hell? A customer relationship manager. It's a customer engagement manager, is what it really needs to do. It needs to get agree with in that. The process. Sure. Well, I know that we just look at it differently. I think the tools themselves need to man up. Need to show some sack, grow some hair, and quit saying that, the dealership needs to do it differently. Well, fuck off.
Well, and the dealership again, I agree with you there, because the CRM, the process shouldn't be serving the CRM. So it's not your process shouldn't serve the CRM. The CRM should serve your process. So the process comes first. And at way too many dealers, I tend to agree that the CRM seems to be the boss, and the boss should never be the CRM. The boss.
There you go, and that's the dealership abandoning that post to a piece of software, really. because it's not because people can't. It's just they didn't. They like, and it's not a criticism of a general manager being stupid. It's saying that the general manager actually has a tough job. 12 times a year, they got to make sure that the dealership's successful. They want to do that for themselves and for the owner and for the people that work for them. So they get that challenge 12 times a year. The CRM itself has a role in that, but it ends up being that so many features don't get used. I'm a fan of some mining tools, and I'm a fan of some people that work on fixing CRM deployments. There's only a couple of consultants that I know that do a really good job on that. I don't do that work really anymore, although I can.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, shout out to bullcutter.com if you want to know what I do. Right. So the idea though is that we take a look. We've discussed other tools, and one I know I can talk about is Tacobi. Can I use that example? Was that cool? I can share what happens with them on the CRM.
Yeah. Whatever makes you happy.
I got paid plug because I don't get any money for it. So just everybody can calm down. It's that they've got people that want to have conversations about cars through social media. They've contacted these people and they want to have a conversation. They're trying to plug them into a dealership experience that the CRM is this maze that instantly enters of follow-up and emails, and all these things start breaking down. And so it's kind of a new paradigm for them. But that's where I look at customer engagement. Customer engagement to me is that customer is a live human being. They're not some lead that might never come to fruit.
I agree with that concept entirely. I hate calling people leads when they're people. If you think of them as people first, customers, but people, you do better. I believe that's my.
Well, you're going to do better. Yeah, absolutely. But I think but comparing a lead and a CRM, it's funny how the closing ratio hovers between 10 and 15%. Don't get me started on that math. I got a math minor in college. It just drives me crazy that we accept that statistic like we just try better. We might get 16%. When I look at a tool like that versus a lead, that's why I don't want to call what they have are humans. It's definitely human. It's not been generated by some contest or some automatic crap or some advertising that may or may not be real clicks or robots. These are real people. It's kind of like the idea of advertising getting people onto the floor, right? That's what you want to have happen. That's part of the perception that people don't have. The CRM's back to that. There's two things that I know from the data that I studied for about 600 dealers when I had a chance to study it. One is that CRMs overall, they log the floor traffic that they do numbers with. That's what happens. And if you do an appointment service, a third-party appointment service, you can look for about 40% to 60% max that they will log an appointment that shows up. They'll bring about half your customers when they get on the lot because it's not their habit to log it because it's too hard, boss. And somebody says, okay, well, let's spend $500,000, or sorry, that's an overstatement, $75,000 to $150,000 to change CRM because now Joe Schmo salesperson will do this thing. And I want to make that my one point that I love to make is that no CRM will ever make that happen. It's not a salesy okie machine. Mm-hmm. You can't take all your singers and make them into Celine Dion's, and your dealership is not the Met. So let's get off of that the CRM is going to make all things equal. That's the other thing that was the lie in sales. And I'm converted. I used to be a big believer in it. So it's kind of like, I've fallen from the faith. I'm probably excommunicated at this point from some of my CRM people.
Where I will begin to disagree with you, Keith, is that your contention that this was sold one way and the dealers bought into it and they believed you 100%. I think
they 100%. They believed enough to buy it.
Well, I think they understood that they needed a CRM for a number of reasons, and they didn't buy into every reason that you give the whole laundry list of what CRM could do for a dealer. And, most dealers, when it comes to software, in my experience, and I've sold software for years and advertising for years, they kind of pick and choose. They pick out some of the features that they think they're going to use on a regular basis, and others they say, well, okay, great, I'll learn the tool, but I'm never going to use that again. That's not on my agenda. It doesn't fit with our process. And again, that would be the dealership coming up with a process. And if the CRM fits that process, wonderful. But the CRM isn't dictating the process. So
it does. So what happens? So because it has a feature that requires follow-up, or it requires leads to get emails, or it doesn't handle text inside the CRM the same way as you'd like it, or it doesn't have a main number support, or it doesn't do mining the way.
I'm sure every CRM has some drawbacks. Has some drawbacks.
Well, it's like this. It's like this giant box of tools. That's my toolbox that I keep in my office that I throw in. I got a hammer in here. I got a stapler. I've got a mallet. It's like CRM. It's like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. It feels so good when you quit. That's how
from my perspective, it's you're blaming the gun or you're blaming the crazy guy, but it's the combination of the crazy guy with a gun. It's
like they bought a gun and they got a bomb, or they got a paperweight. It's what they really got. Have I shown you my whip? Have I shown it? By the way, for folks who want to know about bull cutter, this is a real thing, and I really can use it. I'm kind of a marksman with a whip. But anyway, that was just from fun distraction from a prop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're going everywhere. You're wandering off track, and that's okay. I understand. You want to make a point, and you hate CRMs, and no cars are being sold because of CRMs, and
I would say that's exactly true. In most cases, it's exactly true. They're not being sold. They're not being sold because of CRM. A lot of times they're being sold in spite of it. It doesn't mean that salespeople shouldn't do their job, or that there aren't lazy salespeople. What it means is that the CRM was supposed to pin them in. They supposed to pin them into a process, and they end up in a CRM gulag that they hate, and our retention is awful. Our retention is terrible, right? You keep a salesperson on the floor.
Well, I agree, and there's a number of reasons for that, and it's not because of the CRM. I don't believe.
Well, I'm not saying it's because of that. I'm just saying that we don't make an investment in the people that might be able to use it. That's another mistake that the dealerships do make, is they don't hire the right people that will be able to use a CRM.
I believe that from my perspective, an 18 million car SAR is phenomenal, and actually maybe part of that is because of CRM and technology. This is a lot of cars being sold.
Not in my lifetime will that happen. Not in my lifetime from CRM. Technology, yes, but CRM never made that happen. What made that happen was marketing and advertising, and a lot of hard work by a lot of people.
And a CRM has never sold cars. I had a post on Dealer Refresh, and I was talking about SEO doesn't sell cars, and I firmly believe.
Thank you.
It's part of getting on the radar, but getting on the radar isn't enough to sell a car. At some point, you still have to set foot on a dealer lot. It's down the road. It may be digital. It may be more customers doing more on the computer sometime in the future, but that's not today for most dealerships. And getting.
Are we getting any questions?
Oh, let me see.
I know it's not showing up on mine, but I certainly have a question by now.
Trevor, using a CRM as a way to track salespeople and bust their balls is more the norm than the exception. That's the problem with the CRM. I've never met a salesperson that likes their CRM. So that's Trevor Brooks.
I love you, man.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of sales, and I whine about having to log my activities in a CRM. Um, I know that there's a lot of whining going on. Um,
Whining. I hate that.
yeah,
Come on. Oh,
why?
can't we have it back? Can't we just get along?
Um,
I, I think that that's one of the things that if it hadn't been 10 years of my life listening to the same story, should is a bitch word. It'll make you a bitch. It'll stick a mop handle up your ass and clean the floor with you. That word. For 10 years, I've heard about what salespeople should do and the sales and how they should process through this and process through that. And we don't keep it simple. When you got a lot of we got a 25 car guy is not he has his own CRM, right? He's got his own use of things. A 30 car guy or a 30 car woman has that kind of thing. When I look at the people who are making a difference in how CRMs are used, I think of Stacy Ellison and Bobby Herman Heron,
Aaron.
sorry, Bobby Haybar, and hey Patrick, don't punch you for mispronouncing them. But the whole idea is there are people out there who are trying to help dealers through this swamp, and I'm just looking at it. I just pulled myself, up 10,000 feet and looked at it, and I went, well, that's great that they're doing that, and I love that they have quality work. Those are people who really do a great job. BDCs especially can use it. But dealerships have been done on this for 10 years, Ed. If it was going to work, it was going to work. It ain't going to work this way. So the tool's got to change. The tool's got to adapt. I don't want to get rid of it. I want to make it work. I
And
want it
and
to
again,
actually do something.
I'm looking at Trevor's comments, and he's talking
Oh,
about how it creates a combative us versus them mentality, and he's blaming the tool, but it's not the tool. He's angry. He's angry with management. Management is making him do something that he doesn't want, because it's not the tool that's making him do something that he doesn't want to do. It's management that is asking them to do something that they don't want to do.
well,
Logging a call.
back to your
Sorry.
gun example. Back to your gun example. It's a gun in the salespeople's face. Now you may say it's not the gun's fault, but it's being held by management. I agree, but it's being held by management who never usually had to use a CRM, never sold a car on the internet, doesn't know whether the tool is actually working or not, and relies on the fact that the OEM wants them to have one. They think it's going to help them, and there's a lot of great data, and it can help them. I'm not telling you, like we talked about, right? There's a pizza pie, 18 million cars. CRM, if you want to get a bigger slice, is one thing you can do. But your processes is what you really need to do. But nobody really wants to make that investment. They think the CRM, I'll just set it and forget it. That's a management decision. I agree with that. But the tool was sold. I sat in those meetings. I've sat at the parties, at the digital whatevers, at the
Mm-hmm.
NADAs. I've sat with people, executives of CRMs, all talking about, not laughing on the way to the bank and high fiving, talking about that problem that even if you have a great tool, getting the management, because the first place it starts is manager has to get into the CRM and take a look at what the people are doing, and that means they had to learn it, and that was difficult. And so it's a lot easier to pay the $2,500 or $800, whatever you're paying, and listen to your salespeople bitch about, and get this antagonistic situation, because it's the gun they use when it ought to be something that helped the salespeople. But unfortunately, it is that box full of crap that comes along with everything that they don't want to use, and it's created as a whip and a chair like on the salespeople because of the management. I cannot blame the tool, but I blame the people who designed the tool. I blame the
And
people that put hokey code
yeah,
together. I blame the people who have bad CRMs. But I think there are good ones out there. There's some great ones. Great CRM and a bad dealership won't make a difference.
I agree. And I mean, I sold Viato for 6 years. There are
It was you.
Yeah. So there are dealers out there that really embrace the whole process and love what it can do for the dealership. Other dealers, the used car manager will rebel and not use the tool to appraise a trade, and then the general manager yells at him because he didn't take the time to use Viato to appraise the vehicle. Because he likes to bring his Galv's book out of his back pocket and use that rather than actually using the electronic tool. Yeah, I understand that there's people that are going to be resistant to change. That's always the case. You were talking about there's a lot managers out there that don't know the tool. I shame on them. Shame on that. If this is going to be a part of their business, it's incumbent on them to learn at least enough of the tool. They don't have to be the BDC manager that's in there every day, but maybe once a week they want to be able to pull their own reports and take a look at some data and know what's going on in the dealership. And that's a great way to take the pulse of some aspects of your business.
We've not grown that kind of manager. We have, to that tool point of view, it's going to be the great CRM nirvana. Like I said, it's been 10 years of my life around this issue. I'm using it as a salesperson, using it across 3 locations, 16 different makes at 1.3 different internet departments, trying to keep track of what was happening with internet leads and phone calls and who was selling and who wasn't, and what, and trying to do your every week, and then of course a mid-month and the end of the month and then the roll-up, and then trying to get everything to agree. And so pay plans and bonuses and everything else can happen. So the tool itself, I'm going back. I say to the CRM community, go back to your drawing boards. Stop adding features. Start thinking about what it takes to get from the customer, that's the shopper today, to the sales floor. Okay, in between those two things, get a hold of a human being and get them to buy an automobile. You can do that with a 3x5 card. But what you can help the salespeople is to make that a simple process. Instead of worrying about features that managers are never going to use, are going to decide in a meeting somewhere to buy, or a group decides to have it, and nobody, and then you have the one manager who wants to have some other CRM because they like it. When I talk to people who did, there was Tammy the Blue, record setter, in her make, and she's gone now, God bless her. But the idea that she used the CRM, and she had people that work with her to use it. And then I went to talk to her. I was with that CRM company. I went to talk to her and found out that she wasn't using everything, but what she used the hell out of it. So she learned the 5 things she needed to do and dropped the rest on the floor. And guess what? She was successful.
Yeah,
well, the tool should just have 5 things. It should just have 5 things in it, or 10.
So tonight I went and visited my 90-year-old mother in the home, and she was sitting down for dinner, and she was talking about, she didn't like everything on her plate, and I said to her, Mom, just eat what you want. You don't have to eat it all. So there's 4 things on your plate. Eat the 3 that you like. Push the other one to the side. And so the idea of the 5 things that you liked about the CRM, use the hell out of those.
That's not how it's done. I sat through training for a with the CRM company. I was like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to teach you everything from A to Z. And so
because they don't know what you might use and what you might not gonna, so that you have as a manager. Yeah,
because this is an important distinction. I was in, so I sat through 3 days. I was like, okay, that's not going to happen again. So we moved it to the big store, and the trainer came in, and he got about 15 minutes into it. And I said, okay, look, I've studied the tool from the other store installation. I've watched this happen. We're going to train these guys on the 5 things they've got to do, and then we're going to build from there. And he looked at me like I was nuts, and he goes, I've got to make this happen because I don't want you guys calling me with, complaining that I didn't teach you everything. I said, you've got stuff in here from data mining over to fancy email cycles and merge codes and all this baloney. But I need these guys to log a customer, be queued up for follow-up, be able to make some phone calls, and I didn't have texting back then when I did this, but all the other things that you'd like to have done today, just do the 5 things. When I get off the human hand, they get lost.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it isn't. They don't know. I can tell you right now, sit down any CRM.
Again,
There's
that sounds like a human problem. It's not a CRM problem. So
bullshit.
that was a bad training. That was a bad trainer. But
Cockpit of a 747 when they need to be able to fly a kite. They give them a cockpit of a 747. That's what happens. And that's what these guys are complaining about, rightly, is it's overly complex. It's not the fact that the 5 things aren't there. It's that there's not somebody like me around saying, hold the hell on, teach these guys how to run, walk, crawl, walk, run.
So
there's not, that doesn't.
I've got a CRM trainer that's a friend of mine. Ask the question: would you open a store without a CRM? What would you do, Keith? If you owned a dealership, if you opened up a brand new point?
I'll tell you this. I believe I would kick your ass if you had a CRM down the street from me. I believe 100% that I could run a store without it. Damn right I could. But do I think that that's always a smart play? No, I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying stop being stupid about it and giving them 50 features when they need 5. I hope that's a direct answer.
Well, yes, and yeah, I think the point is you need to be man enough, have enough big enough balls to say, I'm going to use these 5 features, and I love these, and the other 75 I don't need.
I can't get the managers to do that. What you need today is the only thing that a CRM was really needed for is for the lead management, the things that come in. And that's where eLeads originally started, right? One of the things that they had was an ILM. They had a separate product, which was built around that problem that there were leads coming in and nobody was keeping track of where they went, and that needed to happen. That was an accounting problem, not accountability, but accounting.
I certainly think that you want to follow up, whether it's an in-store visit or an email lead or a phone call. You want to track that customer. Just going back to my video from last night, I used ACT as a personal CRM, contact manager.
Absolutely.
And because I needed to keep track of my customers, my correspondence, my emails, my phone calls, just to keep everything in one place. It was easier than 3x5 cards to keep everything on my laptop. And I think at the time my laptop was an Apple 145, which was like nothing, no RAM, there was no processor speed, but it was enough to keep track of my contacts. And so I recognized the need personally, not Big Brother breathing over my shoulder, forcing me to do something. It was for my sales. It was about my business. And I think to me, that's the big challenge. If you can convince sales, and I've been a sales manager, I've been a salesman. If I can convince my people, and if I can be convinced to use the CRM because it's in my best interest, not because you're going to penalize me if I don't, but if I can sell more cars, or going back to this idea of if you log this activity, then as a manager, a general manager, or a BDC, I can step in and help you sell more cars, and we can work as a team. That is, that's, it's possible, and I see it every day. Not every dealership that I walk into operates like that, but there's a lot of dealers that do operate like that.
Well, and that's okay that there's a lot. The majority does not. But I tell you, I disagree with one thing. I think we need to put it exactly the different way. We pay people, we hire people to do a job, but they do the job we pay them to do. If we want activity from a manager, we want more sales this month, we do bonus games, we do all kinds of things to get the sales manager motivated. If the sales manager's money depended on it, if all the money that the salespeople would get depended on just logging customers, just doing a believable logging job, right? That would be, now I'm going to do what I'm going to get paid to do. Because right now what happens is, you talk about selling cars, they want to meet people on a lot. They want to get that instant gratification. That's been a problem in the car business for a long time. But I'm telling you, when you were talking earlier, I want to say this. No, I agree, except that I've been hearing that same thing for 10 years. If it was going to work, it would have. So something needs to change. And I would like the CRM companies to do a better job at getting a better tool that can be used that way.
And again, I think you're wrong to blame the tool. I think it does it does work at the dealerships that I just described, and maybe they're the minority, but they're the better run dealers. That they're well run operations. They use the CRM, and I don't think they're selling cars because of the CRM, but they utilize CRMs.
They were well run before the CRM.
Yes.
The CRM is an amplifier, right? It only amplifies. If you do bad, it does bad. If it does great, it does great.
I think that those stores take a little bit bigger piece of the pie from their competition. Out of the 18 million cars, they take a little larger share because they're well run operations. And part of that is they do use a CRM. To a store. I think
operation, I'm never going to disagree with that. Never going to disagree with it. Well run operation, absolutely. Generally
and they're not well run because they have a CRM.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No. Yeah, I got you. And I love you for that honesty. That's absolutely, you and I are 100% agreeing on that. I just feel like that when I talk about this, it's sort of like I'm not supposed to call out my CRM brethren for doing anything except providing a tool that if the dealerships would please just do their job. Screw that. Let's make a better tool. Let's not make excuses because the salespeople are going to be lazy. They were lazy 10 years ago. They're lazy now, and there's some great ones too. So what? So what? The CRM is not helping. There are a lot of dealerships out there. It's not a sales yoki machine. I mentioned that earlier. You can't make Celine Dion's out of everybody. You can't make yourself into the Met, but you can get a CRM that amplifies the best parts of your process. You can get in there and help that. And that's what I find, generally speaking, when a dealership really takes a strong look and a strong control of the CRM, that's when they start to become successful, but it changes behind that, upstream of that. So in a sense, you're going to corner me. I'm going to say, yeah, the CRM is not really responsible for that. But I saw those meetings. I watched that happen. And I've seen CRMs make a lot of money over the years off the idea that one day the salespeople won't be so lazy to use it. It won't be such a struggle. Well, don't make it a struggle. Make it simpler. Stop voting.
Hey, I mean, there are simplified CRMs that are much more stripped down. And if that's what your dealership wants, they're out there. So again, you're blaming the tool.
I'm going to blame the fucking tool because I sat in those meetings with those people when it was sold to them, but just because it's not.
It took two to tango. They weren't just sold. Somebody bought that.
Yeah, I know. Somebody bought it, and that's what happened, and I get it. But the problem not gets solved by sitting around thinking like that way. Dealership's not going to change. The dealership body is not going to change. 10 years, CRM has been running. It's been the gnat on the ass of that elephant. That elephant's gone where it damn well please. So if we're going to try and be better than that, get to the head of the elephant and start working around it, then let's stop acting like the CRM is not part of the problem, because it is. And it's going to be until somebody like me is listened to.
Yeah.
Or, we'll stop selling cars and we'll be on to, flying cars by that point. It's got to get listened to, and they're not. So it is part of the problem. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I want a customer engagement tool. I want a CEM or CET or something that focuses on how do we sell something besides five more.
Let's add some more features and fold some more attribution in there, and
oh my God,
yeah, what the hell?
Oh, exactly. Oh yeah, let's make the CRM our attribution machine. Oh my God. Yeah, you hit that nail on the head, brother. I love you for that. So I don't think we're that far apart. I really don't. But I just want to say things that need to be said because I feel a little freedom at this point in my life to say it. Mostly, and I am, building that brand. Just saying, Bolt Cutter, there it is.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
the idea, if you knew me for a long time privately, I've said this for many years. I've tried to get the ear of a lot of people who do CRMs to try and get them to understand that they built something that they loved. It was car guys that built a CRM that should have never had their finger in technology ever, or was technology guys that never saw a car sales floor. There's some place between those two that I would love to see. I'm not saying CRMs are dead. What I'm saying is that it needs to get better.
And they're certainly not dead. And I
They're not
think
going
you
anywhere.
are. I think you are saying that they're bad, or a lot of them are bad.
Well,
That's
no,
what
I'm
you
saying
see. That's what you seem to be saying.
no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the CRM, the whole concept of it doesn't serve engagement. Engagement is how we sell. And attribution got sold in there, and other things got sold in there, and follow up machines and mechanisms and emails and texts and all this other stuff goes on. And the salesperson just gets confused because they're very simply minded about I want to sell a car. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying they're about that way. So let's get the CRM back to that point, and let's trim off features. Fine, leave them in there. Then let's go off and teach the guys 5 things to sell a car. Which CRM vendor is out there doing that? Anybody doing that? Bueller?
Bueller?
Okay.
Well, no.
Bueller, yeah.
See, now I'm looking at my feed to see if there's.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm sure I'm missing off a lot of
I
people.
mean,
I'm so sorry.
I think blaming the tool for human problems and everything that you're talking about that's a problem is a human problem. It's not a technology problem. It's not a problem with the tool. It's tools. Maybe humans have piled too many functions into this tool.
10 years. 10 years.
Yeah.
I had to go to
Again, the best run dealers that I walk into, the folks that sell the most cars,
yeah,
all of them use CRMs. I mean, I do business with some small, like 2 salespeople, small independents that have 2 salespeople that don't use a CRM. I'm talking about an operation that has multiple salespeople, maybe a BDC, a small BDC or a big BDC. I can't imagine them operating without a BDC or a CRM.
The BDC is a whole other animal, and it didn't come because of CRM. It's actually, that's I like that point actually. The BDC, and again, there's 2 kinds of BDCs, right? There's the one that sucks and everybody wants to, I hate that thing, and then there's the BDC that actually produces. Just like a sales floor, right? But the BDC is a great BDC has tight processes. So what is it a natural fit for? A process workflow tool, which is what a CRM is in that case. Perfect marriage, 100% agree with it. And any well-run dealership is going to be using their CRM in a well-run fashion. Absolutely. But when I sit around and I say, for 10 years, the tool sold on this promise and it didn't deliver, I ain't lying.
Okay. And I think that there is at any sort of a dealership of any size, there has to be some crossover between the BDC and the floor. And that's going to be either follow up or prior to the customer coming in, and that handoff has to occur, and the CRM is going to be part of that mechanism of handing the customer from one place to the next. You need to have a record of what the communication has been.
We wouldn't know.
And a plan for the future.
Sure, most dealerships wouldn't know what they'd be like, oh gosh, how do I do that process? What do I do? So there's lots of I'm not saying there's zero value in a CRM. What I'm saying is that the CRMs themselves had better change. It's 10 years of using the salespeople to excuse some of the sorriness in some of the products. But
And
also the idea that some products are great. I'm loving on them. I'm hugging them right now. Okay, I love
we're
them.
50 minutes into this, so I'm going to wrap it up because I have to do my
You're
life.
trying to shut me up again.
It's time. It's bourbon time.
Well, if I
No,
didn't notice, here's
um, so it sounds like you're advocating for changed CRMs. You don't want to get rid of CMs or CRMs. You just want to change CRMs. And we can talk more about this some other time, but it's
don't run.
10 to
Let me
9.
agree. Let me agree with you.
Okay.
It's AIDA, right? Attention. If I can't get people's attention, and I'll say some outrageous things to get your attention, then I can't get you to change anything. And the idea is that if I hope to get some CRM companies' attention, when they go, damn, he actually isn't hating us. He's trying to tell us that 10 years he's right. We have a bunch of features that great dealerships use them. Let's go help the other guys. Let's go help them and those salespeople who are struggling and want to sell cars, because I believe that CRM can help them.
Oh,
it just
yes.
doesn't.
Well, no.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Okay, man, and whoever sat in and watched this, thank you so much. And hopefully you had some fun. I had fun.
Yeah.
Keith, did you have fun?
Thanks, buddy. I did, buddy. I love this. I do it 10 times.
Well, cool. And how'd you like the technology? Because I do like technology.
I love this. I love this technology. This is fantastic. Thank you for hosting this. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Thank you for coming on, and I had fun. So, folks, have a great night. Thank you.